Hey, Greyhounds fans. Thank you for listening to the Hounds Huddle podcast on Moraviansports.com and the Greyhound Sports Network. I am LJ Smith, Assistant Director of Athletic Communications here at Moravian University. And on this episode, I sat down with men's soccer head coach Bob Wilkinson, going back to his days as a student athlete at LaSalle, concluding with his fourth season at the helm of the Moravian Greyhounds. So let's get started and meet our guest, head men's soccer coach Bob Wilkinson. Thank you again for joining us on the Hounds Huddle podcast, the official podcast of Moravian University Greyhounds Athletics. LJ Smith alongside head men's soccer coach Bob Wilkinson. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast.
Glad to be here, LJ. Thanks for having me.
So, as an overview of what we're going to kind of talk about today is how you got started with the sport of soccer, transitioning all the way through high school and college and what that looked like for you, and then talk about how you got into college coaching and being the head coach of the men's soccer team at Moravian University. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a good plan.
All right, so let's get things underway. Let's talk about how you first kind of got involved with the sport of soccer.
I got involved in the sport of soccer, I guess, when I was 6 at the United German-Hungarian Club, UGH, which the club ended up being a big part of our life. My dad was a player there. My dad played there in the mid-'60s and won a national championship with them. And it was interesting in that time, where, American soccer, where was it? My dad went to Girard College Elementary and high school. Back when he was growing up, he spent his whole life living there. And at that time, the main sport at Girard was actually soccer. So that kind of got into it. He graduated from there, went on to Drexel. Played at Drexel, was an All-American at Drexel. So soccer's always been a big part of his life, and he passed it on to his kids.
That's incredible to hear.
Yeah.
And we'll get to your dad a little bit later in here, but going through high school, when you finally got to high school and playing soccer, were you playing any other sports growing up? Was it soccer just strictly?
No, I loved baseball, for sure. I played till I was 18. I did not play for my high school team. But I always loved baseball. We played, wiffle ball in our backyard every day for like 15 years. My old buddies from the neighborhood would appreciate that shout out.
Yeah.
So there's a genuine love for baseball, but soccer was always there. Soccer was the year-round sport for me. Even back then, everything was more seasonal then. Fall was soccer and football. Winter basketball, baseball was the summer. But I was around the game all the time. As my dad was probably in 1969, I guess when I was 4, became the head coach of LaSalle University. Okay. So I kind of grew up on a soccer field, hanging out at their practices when I was a kid, and really went all the way through high school.
Now, were you recruited in high school to play soccer, or did you kind of have your mind set on where you wanted to go?
I always knew I was probably going to go to Archbishop Wood. My older brother went there. So that was the Catholic school in our area. So they had a good program, not a great program. The best soccer back then was always played in the city, in Philly, at schools like North Catholic, Cardinal Doherty, Father Judge, Archbishop Bryan. They were the big four. But we were, we had some good players, and I guess in the time I was there, the big thing, we were the first suburban team to ever make the Catholic League playoffs, which was
impressive.
Yeah, pretty exciting. Yeah, back then. So I knew I was going there. There was a chance to go to Haverford at one time, high, or Haverford School. But I stayed at Wood. I had a great experience there. A great high school coach in Joe Krantz. So it was good for me. It was all about opportunity. Coach Krantz, as a freshman, had me on the varsity and playing. So
wow.
I couldn't ask more than for that opportunity against that high level. Back then, it was great.
That's impressive. So starting quality minutes as a freshman all the way throughout your 4 years there?
Yeah. I was more a guy off the bench my freshman year. I had a couple starts, but no, I was pretty much in every game, and it meant a lot. And it was great because you were still playing club ball then, and then I was getting JV and freshman minutes, so I was playing about 6 games a week. So it was
wow.
It was a great life at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just playing soccer as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you end up going to LaSalle, and what was your experience like? Because you played for the Explorers for 4 seasons, playing for your dad for a couple of years. What was that experience like?
Yeah, pretty exciting. The probably the main 2 schools I was looking at besides LaSalle were Drexel and Philadelphia Textile. back then, which was one of the big programs in the country. So they were local. There were some other schools that had expressed some interest, but I wanted to stay close to home for sure. Textile was the dream. That's where everybody wanted to go back then. They were a top 10 program, top 5 program. So when I got that call, that was it was the happiest day of my life. That's what I did all this work for. I've been around it, And with that being said, the further it went along, LaSalle, obviously, my dad did a good job being hands-off, but had other people from LaSalle reaching out to me pretty regularly. And the AD back then was very specific about, we need to get Bobby here. So in the end, I chose LaSalle over Drexel. I love the Drexel program as well. And, ended up spending a lot of time there.
I feel like that's an understatement. As we go throughout the rest of the show. You were named a regional All-American in 86 and 87. You were also inducted into the LaSalle Hall of Fame in 2005. What did that honor mean to you?
It's I don't know if it's what everybody thinks about, but you when you go into a school and you're always just thinking about making an impact. You want to be able to make an impact as quick as possible. So, due to an injury or two, my first year, I got to start right away, first 2 games, but I got hurt and ended up redshirting that freshman year. So I think when it was all said and done, I played 80, 81, 82 games, I guess, started in just about every one of them. So getting through that first year with an injury, I'd never been injured before, was difficult. But for them to think that after all the time spent there, that it was worthy of the Hall of Athletes, it's great. I know all those guys basically in all the sports because I was, like you said, I was down there since I was 5, 6 years old. So all the names on those walls and all those plaques, I've seen them all play basketball, baseball, or whatever for so much. So to kind of be thought of as a part of that group was pretty special for sure.
What was your favorite memory of being a part of that program?
The men's soccer program?
The men's soccer program. As a student athlete, that is,
Yeah, favorite part, wow.
A little bit of a deep dive here.
Yeah, we were able to win a number of titles, for sure, MAC titles while we were there. But, it had to be, the best part of it is it was just such a close-knit group. The way the program was run, it really was. Everybody talks about family and all that kind of stuff, but it really is. So many of the guys through all the years, our alumni network is big and fantastic. They come back, they support stuff. Really, all the guys that played with at LaSalle, so many of us are we still see each other, stay in touch all the time, and we even have a number of them on our staff. So that was the most special. We did beat Seton Hall one year. At the time, we didn't think it was much of the win. We thought we had a good team. It made Seton Hall 5-1, but then 15 games later, when Seton Hall was 19-1 or 18-1, we're like, wow, that was a pretty big win.
After the fact, realizing who you just knocked off. Yeah,
exactly.
Not only were you inducted in the Hall of Fame, but which is already an astounding feat, like I said, but you joined your father, who was a 1991 inductee. When you were inducted, we talked about what it means to you, but the idea that your name is etched with your father's name at LaSalle. What how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, that's like dream come true type stuff, I guess. I know for my dad to he had success as a player and obviously got into coaching a little bit before, like I said, 69 at LaSalle, but he had coached at St. Joe's as an assistant and Philly Textile for 2 years. He wanted to be he wanted to be good at what he was doing. Back then there were no full-time coaches or very few, so it was really something he was going into work at 6 a.m. so he could get out early, run practice, go home, do the recruiting. More recruiting was done through the high schools back then, so Tuesday, Thursday. So it was pretty accomplishing. But as a kid watching him, you could see how much it meant to him and how much the players meant to him. So when he got that honor, it was pretty special. I know he was very emotional about it as well. So when I had went in, it was pretty special. My dad had already passed away, so it was kind of a way, brought back a lot of memories and all that kind of stuff. And there was a great alumni crowd, again, so where everybody could see each other. So yeah, It's hard to put into words, but really nice.
And LaSalle has meant so much to you, as long as you stayed there. You were an assistant at the program for 24, 27.
Yeah, I volunteered for probably about to around I started pretty quick. I got out in '88, so probably from '90 to 2000, 2001, I volunteered. And then after that, they made the switch to, again, they were still part-time positions back then. They switched over to full-time head coach, full-time assistant. And the one coach wanted to stay on part-time, which with his job, he couldn't do both. So that's when I started LaSalle as a full-time assistant in about 2001. So
To go back to your alma mater, you have such a connection with that institution. The pride you must feel for being able to be a part of that for as long as you have, it's so hard to put into words.
Yeah. It's amazing to think that, like I've coached some of the guys that I went to school with, I've coached their kids, It's amazing to see, guys that I was so close to as in that coach-player relationship now, now they're dads and they're, starting their kids in, youth programs and all that kind of stuff. To see the whole circle come around is, pretty crazy. I don't feel that old, but,
Well, and even after some of our home games, I see you talking to people after the game. Are those former players, former teammates coming back, supporting you now as a head coach?
Yeah, we get a few for sure. Our old head coach, Pat Farrell, comes back to at least one game every year.
Yeah.
And hangs out. But there's a number of guys either from LaSalle or UGH, as I had mentioned before, and there's enough guys in the area that we know that, people pop in, and it's obviously great to see them, So it's soccer community is a tight-knit community for sure.
Are you looking to get your hands on Moravian University Greyhounds gear? Head over to moraviansports.com and click the link Sideline Store under the tab Fan Zone to find our Moravian apparel store. Each month, there is a promotion that offers a discount to all things Greyhounds, from hats, hoodies, shirts, and more. Head to the Moravian Athletics Sideline Store today, powered by BSN Sports.
You began your tenure here in 2018, and what was the biggest difference for you going from an assistant for as many years as you've been there to taking over the helm of this Greyhounds program?
Well, the biggest difference, I guess, between D1, D3 is certainly what we do in the spring and what we're capable of doing, or what we're allowed to do. So within 2 weeks at LaSalle in Division I, you're up and lifting, practicing, maybe small groups, whatever the case may be, and that'll carry through until you get through that initial period where you're going to play 5 games and still practice like 4 times a week, so on and so forth. With D3, it's you have a lot of ideas, a lot of stuff you put in, but then you have your 15 practices in the spring and 1 game. That's a very low amount. So to get used to that, is interesting for sure. Because you want to do so much more, and in a lot of cases the players want to do so much more. But that's probably the biggest difference. Still getting used to that. I missed that part. I missed that part of the year where you can really be around the players and you're a little more hands off for sure.
So your first season here, you bring the squad to a 7-9-2 mark and clinch a landmark conference playoff berth. What was that experience like for you? Because having success that quickly in your first year, but also what it meant to that program, that group of seniors.
Yeah, it was a really good group of seniors, that first group, and I wouldn't say it was easy. Like for them, I think a lot of them thought, hey, new coach, he's going to bring in his own guys. We're kind of out, but that really wasn't the case. We wanted to try and, we make it a goal, obviously, to make the playoffs every year, I think, as almost everybody does. I was like, if we're not going to be able to achieve that goal if you guys aren't a significant part of it. So we did a team building thing that first spring with Dr. Brill. And it was one of those things, when it was done, he was like, wow, that was really good. And everybody kind of started to really buy in after that. Yeah, I'll tell you, when we scored in overtime against Goucher the last game of the season, the celebration was like nothing I had seen. I was like, wow, talk about, I knew it was big, but then I was like, wow, this was so important to this group for sure.
The magnitude of that moment for that
Yeah,
squad.
I mean, the pile up, everybody sprinting off the bench. I mean, it was pretty. I'll always remember it for sure. It was great. It was really great.
You were also named co-coach of the year that year in your first year in the Landmark, while having also some all-conference honors and the conference rookie of the year.
Yeah.
So a lot of positive things, and I talked with Coach Sarah Dalrymple about this, having such success so early in your first season at the program that like you kind of set yourself up so high.
Yeah.
Where can you go from here? But getting the conference rookie of the year is such a big deal, and seeing the progression of that student athlete to now.
Yeah.
How incredible that transition has been.
Yeah, you're talking about Anthony Nagy, for sure. So, a great freshman year. We didn't know, I think, what we had him. We knew Shane Kohler really was the primary recruiter of him, was really just, really behind him. And he was the guy that really saw it first. We had gotten in so late, or, myself was, I think it was late March. It was after spring break. Yeah. So we were really playing catch up on the recruiting. But Shane had Nagy on his radar, and, he was right on. And, he started right away. He's just so quick and so good on the ball. He's hard to handle, for the other team. So went on to be a regional All-American. And, I think throughout the league, he's a guy that, when they're doing the scouting reports, he's a lot of times the first guy they're talking about, I'm sure.
So you follow up that next year with another Landmark Conference appearance, going 11-7-1 the next year. So continuing to improve, all these things going right for your team. And what really do you think, because you're starting to finally get your own recruiting class in, what was the biggest difference with who you brought in on staff to kind of help establish this program? As you mentioned, bringing in some LaSalle guys as well. We were talking before the show started about some of them.
Yeah, it's people you want to work with and all that kind of stuff. There's guys that, I've known for 30 years, I guess, right? They're like Paul Sinofani's the director of coaching at the Warrington Soccer Club. Joe Venezial had done a lot of work with Upper Moreland Soccer Club. And these guys are always around the game. They're full-time soccer people, 12 months of the year while doing their other jobs.
Yeah.
They always have their hands on it. I think they're great role models, leaders, Chris Vaughn, so many of the guys down the line. We've added Cameron Keys, Joe Hansen. So they're all guys that, I thought were just so good as players and great people that the more people you can get around, get these kind of people around your team, it's only a plus.
And the mentorship that they've been providing, just seeing them on the sideline interacting with the team the way they buy into them and you, like your staff, it's something like I haven't seen.
Most of the guys, I mean, not the young guys, Joe and Cameron, but they were all coached by my dad. I mean, that team culture was so important to them, but really to that LaSalle group as a whole. And it's really about payback, to be honest. So they think they've been through something special, and they're there's a lot of soccer stuff and everything going along, but paying back just that other part is huge.
So you're getting set for your third season, and then a global pandemic.
Yeah.
How was it for you trying to make things happen in a team setting without being in person, taking what you could and making the most of it?
Yeah. Well, difficult for sure. I mean, I think everybody would admit that. And there's no playbook for a global pandemic, know. So, you kind of make it up as you go and see what things go well, and you switch to others that don't. And, we were probably dealing with about 30, 35 guys, so everybody's not going to deal with it the same either. It makes it a little bit more difficult just coaching through Zoom or getting guys together through Zoom and so on and so forth. So, and then that first semester back at school, it was tough for sure. So, credit to the guys. We did get out there in the spring finally, and we got 4 games in, and a number of practices. But no, it was good. I think we made the most of what we could. So we couldn't get a season in. We were hoping for some kind of a season, but the exhibition games were at least something.
what did it mean to the team and even yourself to finally have an exhibition game that you're just not scrimmaging each other, to finally see some competition, let alone it being landmark conference competition?
Yeah.
So what was that environment like for your guys to step out on the field just to play a game?
Yeah, it was exciting for sure. Just even when we started practicing, you could feel the energy. People were just so appreciative to be out practicing and playing again and outside and, running, tackling, scoring goals, the whole thing. So the games were good. It was all good. We took the path where, considering everything we went through, we tried to play everybody. So we were getting 30 guys into a game. And, it's not always easy to do, but that was what we thought was most important at the time, and that's what we went with.
You step on the sideline for the first time in almost 2 years having a competitive season this past fall. What was going through your head as you're about to watch your team play in a game that counts?
Happiness for sure. Just so happy to be back at it. Was something you really started to think at what time, will we ever get this going again, right? You knew you would, you just never knew when. There was a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. We thought we had a chance to be really good that pandemic year. We thought we were right on that trajectory, right, where we had the 7 wins and then 11 wins, and I think the team was really in a good spot. So that was obviously disappointing, but is what it is. So no, when we finally get the chance to play for real, this year, guys were excited for sure. And I guess Dickinson 1-0 with overtime, big celebration. So.
Oh yeah, that game, that moment made it feel like we were back. As soon as the whistle blew that we were underway, it was so exciting. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that moment of our student athletes are on the field again.
Yeah,
it was one of those first times we're able to finally do this.
Yeah.
And needs some extra time for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
But oh my goodness, was that incredible? That breath of fresh air that we're playing sports again, and to cap it off with a game-winning goal on our home field.
Yeah.
Just everyone so excited.
Yeah, bench empties, run to the corner.
The energy in the locker room afterwards. What was that environment like for you?
Yeah, pretty exciting. Usually we do our stuff on the sideline, and the players for the locker room, that's theirs, Yeah, no, it was hard to explain again, great emotion. And, people were fired up. We were ready to go.
So after that first home game, you hit the road for 3 straight games, drop a tough game to Ramapo.
Yep.
But then you go to the Brick City Classic, hosted by Rutgers Newark, and you come out with a big overtime victory over TC&J, and then take down the hosts.
To win that tournament, the NJAC is a great conference. Those are great teams for sure.
Super competitive.
So we were, glad to just be there for sure, But we thought we could be good. We played a style where we just figured we would just try and attack and see where we are, as a team and as a group. Both games were good games. We were hanging on a little bit at the end of Rutgers Newark, and but we were able to pull it out. So it was just great to win a tournament like that. It was great. It was kind of you set goals when you get started, and there's short-term goals, long-term goals, or whatever. And here we are to be in year 4 playing against teams like this and getting some results. We were pretty happy.
As the season progressed, it got more and more relevant about how big this graduating class was.
Yeah.
And to me, senior day was just a spectacle to see 15 guys on the sideline. You're able to have them out with their parents, their families. What mark has this group of seniors left on the program?
Yeah, it's probably hard to tell how big of a difference they've made. They came into a program where they were excited to be here, and we were talking about going to playoffs. We hadn't been to the playoffs in a while, so we were talking about stuff about going to the playoffs and playing top quality teams and getting results against them and all that kind of stuff. But we have we just kind of have a pathway for it. There's no, how are we going to get there, to be determined. But where we were then and where we are now, we're in 2 different spots. For this year, we didn't achieve our ultimate goals, but we still did some special things. We, even after that Brick City tournament, we played Montclair, who was ranked as high as 5th in the country. We pulled off a tie against them and had, some chances to win. So that's another great program. So we're trying to upgrade the schedule, keep pushing the limit, and seeing how well we can do.
Well, and in the conference play this year, obviously, we wish more positive results out of the conference, but you did walk away with one win. That must feel pretty good. Anytime you walk away with a win over Scranton on their home field, let alone in double overtime. Goody, Andrew Goodoff getting the game-tying goal in the final seconds of regulation, and then finds the back of the net, just buries it in double. What was that like, that environment on that field?
That was pretty incredible. It comes off a tie against E-Town. E-Town's obviously a very difficult opponent. We hadn't picked up in the first 2 years a win against them or really even a tie. So we tied them there, scored at the end of the first half. So that was a really important result in itself, just to prove that we could do it on the road as well.
On the road, yeah.
Yeah. You know, E-Town's always good, such quality, and Skip does a great job. So that was a nice result. So now we got to take it into Scranton. And the same thing, we're missing some players. We get some guys injured. But Scranton, I mean, the conference is I can't say one game means more than another. The conference is starting to get so good now through all 8
so
teams.
well-rounded.
Yeah, it really is. So every game is a game for sure. But Scranton, Scranton, it's just one of those teams. Like, I know they want to beat us bad.
Yeah.
For sure. And, the feeling is mutual. So got off to a good start in that game. Both teams feeling each other out. It was a big game for them to keep them in their playoff hunt as well. Senior day, so you got to deal with that emotion. They're ready to go. They have a terrific goaltender center back that, really keeps them in the game. So they got their goal, down the stretch. We're just fighting. But, the one thing I can say, for whatever reason, over the years, we're really good at the end of the game and really good in overtime. I wish we were just as good in the first, 20 minutes. Because it might make things a little bit easier. Guys kept pushing. Jake Crawford makes a really aggressive play late in the game, plays the ball across, and Goody was there. I know that was a big game for him, and he had picked up a yellow card, so he already knew he wouldn't be able to play his last game of the season. So this was it for his career. And on almost the last touch of the second half, he puts the ball in the corner, and it's 1-1, and the team's going crazy. Now, of course, momentum carries in. Both teams had great chances in overtime, but then Goody again on basically his last touch in college. Reached Thursday, made a real good run there from the right sideline, crossed the middle, drug a couple defenders with him, and then laid the ball off. Goody got on the end of it and bashed it home. So again, big celebration. Players were happy. It was really, for how things were going at that time, it was big for everybody.
Yeah, definitely a pick-me-up, much needed.
Yeah, for sure.
So we talked about what the impact of the senior classes meant to this program, but a lot of young talent on this squad moving forward. What could we look forward to moving into next year, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, same goals, right? We lose a lot of key people in so many different ways. It was just that senior class, that group of 15, there's a lot of those guys are really close. I mean, they're like brothers. I have that same feeling, like they'll be friends, forever. And to replace them is difficult. But, that starts along the way. We need to bring in some good players this year. But last year's freshman class was very good. They're ready to go. A couple guys got injured, played a little less than maybe they would have. But you can see that they're hungry. You can see they want to continue what this group has started. And maybe, hopefully, try and even take it to a higher level. The sophomore class, same thing. There's some real contributors there, some guys that'll be ready to step in for sure, for guys that are leaving. And then the junior class, there's good leadership there. These guys have played quite a bit as the senior class as well, as we're filling things in. A lot of these guys have a lot of games, minutes underneath them. And, I know the goals are high. From what I gathered, they're working out on their own already, in the weight room and on the field. They're out there playing. So it's exciting to hear. It's exciting to hear, what they're doing and where we'll be able to go.
Yeah, definitely potential for this squad.
Yeah, big word.
But the amount of leadership that this squad has had from the senior class, but how you kind of see it shift down throughout the season of younger guys stepping up.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable to see how their roles change even throughout the year and see them mature not only as a player but as a leader.
Yeah, for sure. Well, college sports, right?
Yeah.
They're all 4-year cycles. There's a few guys out there that get 5, But yeah, for anybody, you come in as a freshman trying to figure out what's going on and trying to figure out how you'll do and how quickly you'll adapt. And then, suddenly it's senior year. Every senior day is kind of the same. We let the seniors give the pregame speeches. And so it's like everybody says the same thing. It's like, it's going to go by so fast. I can't believe we're already here. Like, where did 4 years go? So on and so forth. So it's a blur. And, every freshman's probably saying, like, yeah, sure, we'll see, whatever. But without fail, when it becomes their time, they're like, wow, it went by so fast. Yeah, so there's so much growth in a short period of time. That's one of the great things with college sports, right? They come in as 18-year-olds, big kids almost, and they leave as young men. And so, yeah, it's great.
And we talked a little bit about this throughout the season, was how fast this fall felt like it went.
Yeah.
Because we went from not being able to have a season to, in the blink of an eye, 2.5 months are just gone.
Yep.
So what, as you kind of were able to reflect on the season, what was your biggest takeaway from finally having a fall competitive season?
We were, a little disappointed with how we did overall. We had bigger goals, but we still got a lot done and put ourselves in a good position, moving forward. The fact that we're back playing, it's a classic, was the life lesson, don't take things for granted because you just don't know. And, post-pandemic, we're like, wow, we're all back playing soccer again. We're competing. We're back in class. Just the takeaway, I guess,
a little bit of normalcy coming back.
A little bit of normalcy, yeah. A little bit, normalcy.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon as we film our second episode of the Hounds Huddle podcast. Very excited to have you on as a guest and excited to see the future of this men's soccer program.
LJ, thanks. We'll see you soon. Happy holidays.
Yes, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
It was so nice to catch up with head coach Bob Wilkinson of the men's soccer team. I am so excited I had the opportunity to reflect on his past and learn about what it was like to play under the direction of his father at LaSalle and becoming an inductee of the LaSalle Hall of Athletes. Also, being able to recap this past season and what we have to look forward to next year with the men's soccer program. Be sure to follow the men's soccer squad on social media at Moravian M Soccer on Twitter and at Moravian Men's Soccer on Instagram. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow the Moravian University Athletics accounts as well. That is all I have for you on this episode of the Hounds Huddle podcast. Until next time, I am LJ Smith, signing off.